Hello, Home Slices. It's Kiara with Home Slice Adulting coming to you all with the maybe 6th installment of driving home. So every time I leave work on a Friday, I try to do this kind of vlog, talk about the news or my personal life type of situation, because most of my, virtually all of my previous videos have been reviews on TV shows or products, and it's not very current event, centric, and that's something that was missing from my channel and something that I kind of wanted to add back to my channel. So thank you for clicking on this video. Today there are 2 things from current events that I want to talk about. One of them has been on everybody's radar for the past few days, and it is the fact that some rich people, now everybody is trying to avoid saying white people because we don't know if they're all white. There could be a few people of color sprinkled in, so we're just going to say rich people have been, and some celebrities have been. Am I the only person who says like a little prayer whenever a fire truck or an ambulance goes by with like lights and sirens on? I wonder if I'm the only person who does that. But anyways, so there are some rich and famous people who have been paying money for basically bribes to get their children into the college of their choice. And so it became a really big scandal. There are 2 famous people. I think it's Felicity Huffman and is it Laura? I'm trying so hard not to say Sarah McLachlan because I know it's not her. But the lady who is married to Uncle Jesse on Full House, her have paid, from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their children into colleges. And what's so interesting is that rich people are under the impression, particularly rich white people are under the impression that like everything is fair, and that people who are impoverished, people who lack opportunities can just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And like just make things happen, because America is just so fair that people who don't have can work hard and have. And that's just not the case. I mean, come on. As a person who is into higher education, I have my bachelor's degree in business management, and I am currently in an MBA program. I know how much school costs, and it's not cheap. And it's like, why couldn't your kids just get into the school and you pay tuition? Like, that's legitimate. Like, they don't need scholarships because you are rich. So, I mean, their children don't meet any of the qualifications to go to school. It just doesn't make sense to me. I just can't. And that's what privilege is all about. Privilege is you having these invisible bag of tricks that you can pull out to get the things that you want in life. And because not all of us, particularly people of color or people who are low income, because we don't have access to this invisible set of tools, we can't just buy our way into a university if we don't qualify. And that's why and how we know that this system in America is not fair, because people can buy their way into the things they want instead of earning them. So if there are any people out there that are listening, America's not fair. People can't just pull themselves up by their bootstraps because the system is rigged, okay? And until we can dismantle the system and stop it from being rigged against people of color and people who don't have money, then, it's just not going to be fair. You can't say pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you don't have boots, okay? So I'm going to get off of that because I feel myself getting, upset. But just talking about it, as a person who is going into quite a bit of debt to try to get some higher education and pull myself up, right? Okay. Anyways, let's move on to the second thing I wanted to talk about. So this was not big in the news, and I actually just found out about this today. I saw that one of the people I follow on Twitter posted a video, an old video of when Maya Angelou was on a show, some type of talk show, and a young woman who was probably 16 to 18, something like that, asked a question on the microphone, and the host of this talk show, I don't know who it was, I didn't recognize the host of the show, but yeah, the host of the show went up to this young lady who was probably 16 to 18 years old, so that she could, give her the microphone to ask Maya Angelou a question. And so the young lady says, I wanted to ask Maya's opinion on interracial relationships and something else along those lines. And Maya Angelou was not having it, and she spent a good maybe 30 seconds correcting this young lady and telling her why no one or no young woman should ever not use like Miss in front of her name. And so she's like, I've worked, I'm 62 years old. Maya's response was, first off, it's Miss Maya. Like, basically, when it, I've worked too hard and lived too long to have anyone disrespect me by calling me Maya. And basically it's Miss Maya to you. And she's like, I'm your mother, your aunt, your teacher, your professor as well. And so basically it's a sign of respect to call Maya Angelou Miss Maya as opposed to just Maya. And she gathered this young lady together, and people are having a debate, or they have had a debate on Twitter about whether or not Maya Angelou was tripping, or if she was within her right as an elder to tell this young woman to not call her just Maya. And there's a big difference of opinion. There are a lot of people who feel that Maya Angelou went overboard, and that instead of going to this whole spiel of why the young lady should have called her Miss Maya instead of Maya, that she went on too long and she embarrassed this young woman who is clearly, in awe of Maya Angelou. And then other people say, based on the way they were raised, it's not appropriate for a young person to call an elder by their first name. I think some of it can be attributed to regional differences. Because I grew up in the South, my mom was very, very, very into all of her children. There's 4 of us from my mom. All of us were instructed to call our elders, anybody who was older than us or in charge of us, by Miss or Mr. And so as children, everybody who was an adult was Miss or Mr. to us, or if it was at church, it was like sister or brother, but anyways, that's the way I grew up, and I think that it's kind of a Southern thing, kind of a Southern hospitality thing. And but now that I live in Seattle, I moved to Seattle for school to get my MBA, and I work at a private school where none of the students call teachers Miss or Mrs. or Mr. before their first names. And at first, I thought it was weird, okay? I thought that it was quite odd that students didn't call teachers by their first names. Now, I don't know if that's a northern thing, or a northern type of progressive situation, or if it is a private school thing. But now that I have kind of been a part of the culture at this private school, I'm kind of starting to see the benefits of losing the Miss and Mrs. off the front, of an adult's name. And as a young person, my cousin who grew up in the South but was raised by someone who was from the North never really said Mr. or Mrs. in front of an adult's name. Like, we're very close in age, and I don't really recall him using Mr. or Miss in front of other people's names. And at the time when I was a child, I was like, that is so weird that his mom is not making him show respect to adults by saying Mr. or Miss. And as I have gotten older, I think my mindset has kind of changed about it. Because I remember growing up and having certain adults say, don't call me Mr. or Miss because I'm not old. Like, calling somebody Mr. or Miss in some people's minds is labeling them as old, and they don't like that. But anyways, here are my thoughts. I feel as if Maya Angelou was within her right to tell this young lady that she would prefer to be called Miss Angelou or Miss Maya. I do think that it was overkill, and I do think that she might have lost a fan in chastising this young lady. Again, this is an old interview, and because I don't know, Maya Angelou's birthday, she was 62 at the time, and this interview was probably done in the late 80s. And so Maya Angelou, because of her age group and because of her upbringing, which I'm pretty sure she grew up in the South too, I'm pretty sure, but that might be incorrect. But there was a certain level of respect that parents demanded of their children years ago, back when she was a child, that she carried over. And so the fact that this happened so long ago, 30 something years ago, makes sense. But I think Maya went a little bit too hard. So I think she was both right and wrong. Right in her ability to say, this is what I want to be called, but wrong in her approach. So those are my thoughts on that particular instance. But when it comes to whether or not I want my children to call adults Mr. or Mrs., I think that my family would have a fit if I told them that they didn't have to call adults Mr. or Mrs. So for the sheer purposes of my family, I would definitely have my children say Mr. or Mrs. Or, if it's family, it'll be like aunt or cousin or, those type of prefixes, I guess. But thinking about the actual purpose of not saying Mr. or Mrs., at the school that I work at, it stops teachers from being these inaccessible people who are adults in charge of students, and it becomes something more collaborative where students feel like teachers are more accessible, and that just because these teachers are adults does not mean that they have to have this weird deference to teachers. And it's not so much that the children get to defy teachers. It's not really like that. It's about creating this environment where it's like, we're all on the same level. Children deserve as much respect as adults do. And I get that. And I understand that. And so, people are raised differently, and it's like, at what point do you have to stop calling somebody Mr. or Mrs.? Like, right now, I'm 28 years old, and I feel like that from adult to adult, people who were adults while I was a child, I should be able to call them by their first names now. I'm 28. I am an adult. I'm not like, how parents be like, just because you're 18, you're not an adult. I'm an actual adult, okay? So if I used to call Miss Mary, can I transition to just calling her Mary? I don't know. it's like the rules get fuzzy and all that kind of stuff. But so again, you all heard my thoughts on that particular clip, but I get why, you know, people don't use the misses. It's the Miss or Mr. in front of somebody's name, because a part of me has this weird thought that children, I don't know if it's a universal thing or if it's a Southern thing, that children are supposed to have so much deference for adults. Like, people tell children that you're supposed to be seen and not heard, and that children, you know, have to be obedient and all that kind of stuff. And I'm trying to think if any of that conditioning that we do to children leads to them not telling people when they are being abused. Think about it. If I'm an adult, or if, you know, if I'm a child, let's say, who is being abused by an adult, and all my life I am told, well, you're supposed to do what you're told. You're not supposed to talk back to adults. You're supposed to call adults Mr. and Mrs., and you're supposed to be seen and not heard. And if I'm telling my children and conditioning my children to think and believe all of this stuff, then what am I telling them about when they get hurt? What am I telling them about being submissive to people who are abusing them? And I understand that children do need to learn respect, but it doesn't need to be based on age. You teach your children to respect everybody, regardless of whether they are older, younger, or the same age. And that respect bleeds through to all of their interactions, and not just for people who are older than them. So yeah, those are my thoughts. These videos don't get a lot of views, but I enjoy doing them. They're very, you know, vloggy and vlog-ish, and I love being able to just talk and not have to watch a series which takes maybe an hour and a half, because I'm taking notes, so I have to pause it. And then after that hour and a half, I spend 25 minutes to 30 minutes filming a review, and then I have to make sure the appropriate tags and everything are there, and then upload it. And so it takes me a long time to get those videos out. So for me, being able to just vlog and immediately upload it, it's kind of cool. So I enjoy this time that we spend together. But I'm particularly interested, if you have made it to this part of the video, I'm particularly interested in hearing what you all think about the last point that I made about how, at least when I grew up, or how I grew up, there was this like ultimate respect that children were supposed to have for adults. And again, there's nothing wrong with having respect for adults. It just maybe should be broadened to people having respect for all people, regardless of their age. But nevertheless, the point I'm trying to make is hammering so hard on being obedient and being respective and being seen and not heard, allowing children to be abused and justifying them being quiet about it. I don't know, y'all. Something to consider. But thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this with somebody who you think will enjoy it. Peace out, home slices.